The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
Hello and welcome to the One People Show. Hello and welcome everybody to What is Lisa's Background this week. And as usual, I'm with Dee, who has the same background week in, week out, which is lovely.
White. Just white.
Wow, we've had quite a week. The Transpicuous News broadcast and the One People broadcast last week brought a lot of people and a lot of information out of the woodwork. And Dee and I have both been inundated, but Dee in particular has also been doing an awful lot of research.
Yeah.
And yeah. So we got a lot to kind of go over and talk amongst ourselves, as well as share with you guys. So only a few hours ago, the ITNJ live broadcast went to air. I didn't get a chance to see it, but Dee did, and would love your thoughts on that, for starters. You're muted, so don't start talking yet.
Sorry. Well, where to start? Yes, I know. I took notes. I listened very carefully, and because it was on Google Events, you could kind of like PBR it, and I could continuously kind of pull back to re-listen to certain parts, because there was a couple things that were very, very interesting. A couple of things that were said that were very, very interesting. Terminology used. And it's one of those things, right? You become more and more aware. It just seems like as we go on this journey, you become so hyper aware of words and what their actual meanings are versus what the, let's say, what society might think they mean and the hidden meanings behind them. But, you know, I'm going to come out and I'm going to say this. So I mentioned on Transpicuous News that we, Biggie and I, had been talking to Sasha, and that the OPPT connection was just one aspect, was just one of the things that we wanted to talk about. Each of us in our little group who've been kind of working on gathering the data, each of us seems to have our different focuses of what really we hyper focus on. But one of the main aspects that came up in that conversation and came up in previous conversations with Sasha was the fact that various members of ITNJ, as far as, if you want to talk hierarchy, the higher ups, Chief Justice being the big one, of course, are Bar Association card carrying attorneys. Now, I know everyone listening, all of our regular crew who've been following us on this journey for years, and you know, you all know. You all know what the bar card is. They all know who the association is with. And we all know, no, completely comprehend that it is swearing allegiance to the crown. It's an oath, and it's a very, very binding oath, and it's a very, very ritualistic oath. This doesn't need us to go over and beat it over the head with a hammer, because this is so commonly known now. This is so, tons of articles, tons of whistleblowers. It's a fact. Any attorney sworn to the bar is, the reason they use that term, sworn to the bar, is because it is an oath, and it is an oath to the crown. Whether you're an American bar card carrying attorney, British, Australian, it doesn't matter. It's all the Bar Association, which is the crown. So I found it very, very interesting at the very end of the celebration, the inauguration, whatever you want to call it today, that the gentleman calling himself Lord John Brenna, made a little speech about the fact that there are all these rumors circulating about how the bar card is this oath and all the rest of it to the crown and all the rest of it, and he was like, and I categorically deny it. It absolutely isn't.
What?
He did. Hold on, give me a second. I'll pull up my notes and I will read you word for word what he said, because I literally went back and listened to this and was like, what? He denied that lawyers sign up to some sort of sacred agreement. He said that is completely false. He says the Bar Association is not bad. This is out of his own mouth, which of course is complete, I'm sorry, it's complete and utter bullshit. And anyone who knows anything, I mean, the most, the people who are kind of newest, just waking up, one of the very first facts they learn is what a bar card carrying attorney is sworn to. Okay, this is so common knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, anybody going into court, even at the lowest level, understands that if they have an attorney, that the attorney is not representing them. The lawyer is not representing them. That's one of the first things you learn.
Exactly. Second of all, he stated, Lord John, that Sasha and himself had discussed it, and they decided that in order to put this all to rest, they're going to start, the ITNJ is going to start their own bar association. Now, we'd already been told this. Lord John actually told Biggie that himself. And he said, and I quote, that the oath that anyone would sign to the new ITNJ Bar Association would not conflict with any of their previous oaths to other bar associations.
So they're not renouncing any allegiance or oath that they've already made to the crown or anybody else?
No. Nope. So So
it's pointless.
It's completely pointless. It's not only that. I'm sorry, you can't just set up your own bar association. It would have no basis in legality on any way, shape, or form, regardless. So it would be an empty entity.
Yeah, but that in itself is. Aren't we trying to get away from the legal system anyway? So
exactly. But here's the thing: when you're dealing with oaths, and anyone who's done sorry guys, I know I'm sorry you can't hear me very well. I will come closer if that's what it takes. Anyone who's done any research into oaths and what they are and the rituals that are involved, because it is fully ritual, any oath that you take is a ritual, any oath. The rule with oaths is that the first oath always stands. Any oath that you swear after your first oath has zero meaning unless you rescind or renounce your first oath. So anyone who is sworn an oath to the Bar Association, and that is literally the words that they use, you've sworn into the bar, right? Whether you're in the States, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in England, sworn into the bar. Unless you renounce that oath fully, publicly, and most importantly, with the Bar Association itself, then that oath stands, regardless of what oath you take afterwards. The first oath always stands.
I'm bringing up my Skype again because I want to bring up notes that are in there in regards to the significance of this year and that date.
Huh. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
rabbit hole I was down all frickin' day today. Because, yeah, Magna Carta, yeah, significance of the date. I had someone break it down for me, and I kept saying, June 15th of 2015. There's got to be a significance there. There has to be a significance. And then someone broke it down to me and said, yeah, do you know that June 15th, 2015, numerologically, breaks down to 666? And I was like,
I'm just going to turn my camera off for a sec because I'm going to move.
okay.
I'll be...
Yeah, 666 is the numerological alignment to the date of today. And I sat there and was like, wow, okay, wow. I mean, I expected there to be some kind of numerological significance. I didn't think it would be quite that radical. So anyway, that was one of the biggest aspects is the whole bar card. I'm sorry. And this is extremely important for people to understand. And we touched on this on Transpicuous News on Wednesday. And we talked about the fact of if you have an attorney representing you, you are declaring yourself before the courts to be incompetent, which is why there was the big thud moment that we had with the fact that Heather Antucci Giraffe, a bar card carrying attorney, doing these filings of the UCC OPPT filings for humanity is thereby declaring before the courts that we are all incompetent because no one stood up and said, no, you don't represent me. Okay, by the same token, the ITNJ, their treaties, constitutions, so we're talking very, very old school tools, have been written by, and they're being run through their chief justice is a bar card carrying attorney. And they're writing treaties and documents and signing off constitutions on behalf of humanity, again, signed by a bar card carrying attorney. And I do believe that they just tried to announce that humanity is incompetent again. Unless you stand up and say, you don't represent me. That's my opinion.
Do you want to go over these dates with the Jubilee year and the
Oh God,
every 7 years? Because this is significant to me.
it was very significant, and that was, I started my day literally at 7:30 this morning, diving down the Magna Carta rabbit hole again because there was stuff in there that I just knew I needed to go and look into. There's a few things I will bring up in a few moments that are just, coincidence, maybe, I'm not sure. And then I fell into the whole significance of, again, that the date of September of 2015 as well. And how that just keeps coming up, right?
Well,
And,
listen to this is the bit that got me.
okay.
Okay. It's this Shemitah, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, prophecy. Let's go back.
The Shemitah.
The Shemitah. If a man dies owing money to Jews, his wife may have her dower and pay nothing towards the debt from it. If he leaves children that are under age, their needs may also be provided for on a scale appropriate to the size of his holding of lands. The debt is to be paid out of the residue, reserving the service due to his feudal lords. Debts owed to persons other than Jews are to be dealt with similarly. Now, why are debts to Jews the only thing mentioned? But anyway, the Torah commands that every seventh year the land must rest. Sorry?
That is a piece of the Magna Carta you just read.
Yeah.
Which is why I ended up down the other rabbit hole. Go ahead.
The Torah commands that every seventh year the land must rest and all debts be forgiven. This sabbatical from the word 7 year connects ecological values, religious values, and ideals of social justice. The first Shemitah year in the modern state of Israel was 1951. Subsequent years have been 58 to 59, 65 to 66, and so on and so on and so on. The last one began in September of 2014. The Hebrew calendar is different than our modern day calendar. Blah, blah, blah. The last year, blah, 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 blah. In the Hebrew calendar, all debts are to be forgiven, and a sort of wiping the slate clean is supposed to occur. Now, in 2001, that date fell just 6 days after 9/11, on September 17. That was the day when the US stock markets reopened, and had one of its biggest drops in history, falling 7%. But let's just go and have a look at the history of the days. In 1901 to 1902, the Shemitah, I can't pronounce it, that year, there was a 46% US stock market value was wiped out. The next one, 1916 to 17, 40% of US stock market value was wiped out. 1930 to 31, 86% of US stock market value wiped out in the worst financial crisis of modern history. 37 to 38, 50% US stock market value wiped out, global recession. 44 to 45, end of German Reich and Britain's hold on territories, Bretton Woods Conference structures an entirely new monetary system for the world. 65 to 66, 23% stock market value wiped out. 72 to 73, 48% of US stock market value wiped out, global recession. 79 to 80, US and global recession with peak inflation. 86 to 87, 33% US stock market value wiped out. 93 to 94, the bond market crashed. 2000 to 2001, 37% US stock market value wiped out, 9/11 and global recession. 2007 to 8, 50% US stock market value wiped out, global recession. 2014 to 15, same pattern but very severe global monetary meltdown is expected, as it is the 7th cycle of the Shemitah. Now we're also at the point.
This is where it gets interesting, though.
Yes. Because every 50th year.
Yeah, it's not just the 7th cycle. This isn't just the Shemitah. No, I can't say it. The Shemitah cycle that ends in September 13th, 2015. This is also a Jubilee year, which is 7 times 7 is 49, and the 50th year is the Jubilee year. So it's the Shemitah. It is the Jubilee, which is the 50th year or the 49th year, as they call it. But there's also those several, and I cannot tell you how many. I was 8 hours today solid down Hebrew rabbit holes looking at all this information. There is a huge amount of people who've calculated that this is also the grand cycle, which is 7 times 7 times 7. This is the 70th Jubilee of, I'm getting the numbers wrong. I'm sorry, guys, because I'm not looking at my notes. But yeah, it's the 7 times 7 times 7. So this is the grand cycle of the Jubilee. And it goes back to...
Is this the Yovel year?
Yes.
Okay, so also, and it says that in Jubilee year has some special laws. All slaves were to be set free in the Yovel year. A biblical inscription to the effect was inscribed by the founding fathers of the United States of America on the Liberty Bell, which is now displayed in Philadelphia. The text reads, "And thou shalt proclaim liberty in the land for all its inhabitants." So if this is the year where all slaves are to be set free, then it also makes perfect sense to me that it's also the year we need to all sign into the next slavery system.
Yep. And it's also the year that all debts are supposed to be forgiven, because this was the interesting part, is every 7th year by Torah law, all debts are forgiven. You cannot carry a debt past the Shemitah year. Also back then, though, was that a landholder could lease his land for 50 years, but no more than 50 years, because every Jubilee, the land that you leased automatically went back to the person who originally owned the land. So therefore, land wasn't sold, it was leased on 50-year or less. Obviously, if the agreement was made 20 years into the Jubilee, it would be a 30-year lease. But no leases could go beyond the Jubilee year, because all land automatically in that moment returns back to its original owners. So you have the releasing of all slaves, you have the releasing of all debt, the forgiving of all debt, not the releasing, sorry, the forgiving of all debt, and you have the return of all land back to its previous owners.
Which would be all the indigenous.
Well, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
Doesn't that just strike you as that's what that means? And yet right now the governments, at least I don't not following what's going on in Australia, but in Canada and the States, they are grabbing up First Nations lands left, right, and center right now. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, they are disposing communities. They were disposing of them. They are just dispersing them and moving people on and getting them off their land. That's happening here because they're unsustainable, because there's not enough people living in these communities, apparently.
Well, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, I reported on Conspicuous News about 6 weeks ago that some corporation, and it was, I can't even remember where the corporation was from. It was from, I think it was Malaysia, actually, offered $1 billion deal to First Nations bands up in northern British Columbia, right on the coast, for this one specific piece of land that they wanted to put a pipeline in. And for the first time in a long time that I've seen, the entire community, the entire band stood up and said, "Not bloody likely. No, you can't have it." The river that this would come across is the main spawning ground of the northern salmon. It's also a whole area where they have massive amounts of medicinal plants that they've planted, and they've already said, like, in the deal would be like that they would just basically bulldoze all of that stuff. And they said no. Really? So they're gobbling up. I mean, and in the States, the big news was 2 weeks ago that the government, and this was written into the Pentagon budget that was released in December of 2014, in the Pentagon budget, that they were giving Indian lands away, Apache lands. giving them away to foreign corporations. And the Apache 2 weeks ago literally said, yeah, I don't fucking think so. These are sacred grounds that you're giving away. And it is. It's like one of the most sacred areas for the Apache Nation. And the government was just like, yeah, we're just going to give it away. Sign it off to other peoples. Could we extend that further and talk about, for example, maybe what's going on in the Middle East as well? With the bulldozing, chasing out the Assyrians, chasing out all the really, really ancient peoples have all been pretty much decimated and wiped out. Because if the lands go back, now, I mean, and there are all of those who obviously say, oh, this is just for those who are Jews. That's all this is. Except that we all know that this all ties into ritual law and it all ties into the Vatican and everything else. So I'm not even going to go there. But if you're trying to get rid of, maybe the people who would have originally owned the lands, because the lands are going to go back to them. It's an interesting thought.
What about some other information that came to light in regards to a previous structure for a solution that didn't end up really getting legs, that appears to be a template?
Such as?
I can't remember the name of it.
Somewhere.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. That potentially Caleb Skinner was also involved with. What's it called?
Yes, hold on. We have had, since the show Wednesday night, it started for me first thing Thursday morning, I got up to emails and Skype messages saying, oh my God, I was listening to the show last night. I have a piece of that puzzle for you. We got contacted by a friend of ours who was very, very strongly involved with one of the sovereign movements and the Republic movement and creating the states as independent republics. And actually, I ended up, that conversation, it happened at like 1:30 in the morning my time, so I'm a little hazy on some of the details. But one of the things that he said is he was on all these phone calls, all these calls, and there was one section that started being set up, and there was an island off of Panama, that they were going to purchase this island, and then they found out the guy who was the head trustee was trying to set himself up as king. So needless to say, it didn't go over well for him, and everyone kind of, abandoned the project. And then one of the people who was involved in setting that up monetarily ended up getting involved and coming back out of the woodworks when they were setting up the various republics of the different states. And he swore that Caleb Skinner was on some of these calls. He says, there was a guy named Caleb. He had to do his software development. I'm pretty damn sure he was on these calls. And each one of these things was co-opted. It was co-opted and completely run to the ground because there were people who were put in who were deliberately planted to screw up the constitutions that they were writing and screw up all these official papers that they were trying to file, and basically turning it all into, yet again, slavery 2.0.
And it looks like the initial template for what New Earth Nation and the ITNJ has evolved into. So whether certain individuals came on board in the early days and steered that into that direction, these are questions that still need to be answered. But there does seem to be a pattern, and there does seem to be a template, and it seems to be the same old players popping up again and again and again throughout these movements. Like we said last week, it's like every solution that gets put forward becomes co-opted.
Yeah.
twisted and contorted until it looks like slavery 2.0.
Well, they're always agents. I mean, I hate to go back to using that word because, oh my God, I hated that word last summer. But the unfortunate truth is there just seems to be everywhere you turn, there are agents. There are people who are planted into everything. And the more I've uncovered, even about the OPPT filings, is proof in the pudding that it's been a continuous one after another person who's been brought in to steer things and push things in certain directions and put in separations and blocks and bring certain groups together, and then it one after another. And I'm sorry, the whole ITNJ thing, yeah, like I said, it's never resonated with me from the beginning. Just because it's a legal thing, and I have so not got any interest in any new legal systems or anything. It's like, ew, I don't even want to think about it. So but that was my own personal opinion. So I didn't talk about it. I didn't make any grand announcements or anything else. I didn't even look into it because I just didn't care. Quite frankly, when it was as I said on Wednesday, when it was personal choice of everybody of whether they wanted to be involved or not, I just didn't care. It's like, let people be grown-ups and they can make their own choices what they want to be involved in. That's it. But I have spoken to a bunch of the people who are part of ITNJ. And one person in particular that I spoke to, who's very high up in their organization, apparently, was clueless, completely clueless. Didn't understand the UCC filings, didn't understand the relevance of the UCC filings. And when I offered to go through the information with that person, the only thing they wanted to talk about was the 2008 fall of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and its relevance to the financial collapse, because she only had the barest understanding of what a straw man account was. And I was just like, wow, that's so unimportant. Really? Yeah. If those are the people who have been sent in, and I mean quite literally sent in with those backgrounds, and if people want to stand and say, yeah, okay, I'll sign on, you can have fun with that. I do absolutely declare that I do not consent to anyone representing me. That's what I can say.
Okay, the stream is under attack, funnily enough, and that's bound to happen. But for those of you who are watching elsewhere, you can go to lisamharrison.com and participate in the chat room. It's quite lively at the moment. Yeah, Armageddon. Okay. And also, if you'd like to call in, if you do have something to share with us, you can do so. I'm just going to try and figure out what that number is. Oh, hang on. Biggie's going to put it on the screen. Okay. So the call-in numbers will show up on the screen in a moment if we don't lose the stream completely.
Me and my fucking mute button. Sorry. I just want to share this one little this is it relevant? Is it not relevant? And I don't know. I'm gonna put it out there and let everyone go to it themselves. Because we started off talking about Lord John and the whole bar card carrying attorney stuff. I will also note that if you want an interesting read, you can go to the Humanitad page and look at his CV. You will probably find it very interesting. He is in the Inner Temple. which I got, I think, really cool section of information on, because it's a Templar thing and it is a crown thing, and it's totally Jesuit run. And he's also a member of the Order of St. John of Jerusalem, which is also a Jesuit organization. And again, we're not talking earth-shattering revelations here. Everyone knows that St. John of Jerusalem is a Jesuit order, just like the Knights of Malta. St. John of Jerusalem is the Protestant handle of the Knights of Malta, which is the Catholic handle. St. John of Jerusalem is run by the Queen of England. And I know, and he, in a private conversation that Biggie had with Lord John, he abjectly denied it and said it's not true. Well, it is true. And we went real deep, and we went to the experts, like the people who have been studying Jesuits for 30 years, and they confirmed it for us, what we already knew. Not to mention, 85,000 freaking articles that have been posted about that information. This is fucking so old news. Everyone knows this. It's like the bar card. Seriously. Lie to the fucking public. I'm sorry, that just ticked me right the fuck off. So I want to just bring your attention to something, okay? So I went through this morning. The first thing I decided to do was, of course, to read the Magna Carta. I'm going to read you the opening of the Magna Carta, okay? John, by the grace of God, King of England, Lord of Ireland, Duke of Normandy and Aquitaine, and Count of Anjou, remember that, to his archbishops, bishops, abbots, earls, barons, justices, foresters, sheriffs, stewards, servants, and to all his officials and loyal subjects, greeting. Now, if you go to Humanitat, which I believe is www.humanitat.org, and click on the team and click on Lord John's writing, you will see that in there and amongst all the things of his titles, the vast, huge amount of titles, he is listed as Regent of the Royal House of Anjou. So there's one. So going back to the Magna Carta here, I'm going to read you just literally the first paragraph. Know that before God, for the health of our soul and those of our ancestors and heirs, to the honor of God, the exaltation of the Holy Church, and the better ordering of our kingdom, at the advice of our revered Father Stephen, Archbishop of Canterbury, remember that, Primate of all England, and Cardinal of the Holy Roman Church, Henry, Archbishop of Dublin, William, Bishop of London, Peter, Bishop of Winchester, Jocelyn, Bishop of Bath, and Glastonbury, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through all the frickin' bishops, sorry. Master Pandulph, subdeacon and member of the papal household. Brother Emeric, master of the knighthood of the Temple in England. William Marshall, Earl of Pembroke. William, Earl of Salisbury. William, Earl of Warren. William, Earl of Arundel. Alan of Galloway, Constable of Scotland. Warren Fitzgerald, Peter Fitzherbert, Herbert, and blah, blah, blah. And again, a whole bunch of these barons. Okay, so we're going to go up to the first one, right? At the advice of our revered Father Stephen, Archbishop of Canterbury. Lord John's CV, he was appointed as Notary Public for Norfolk Island by the Archbishop of Canterbury in 1995. Okay, skip down. Our brother Emeric, master of the knighthood of the Temple in England. Lord John, Society of Kings in Ireland, Society of the Inner Temple of England. Also see notes on the Inner Temple and the Templars of the Crown down below. Now, what I'm going to probably end up doing, guys, is taking these notes, which are vast, and I will just going to like data dump them on you guys. I'll just post the entire thing under Removing the Shackles and let you guys, have at her. Just have fun with this. Okay, next one is, we got down to this, Alan of Galloway, Constable of Scotland. Okay, hold on. We've got to do a little, this is where I had to go in and do a little research, because immediately the name, my family history is British and Scottish. Yeah. Alan of Galloway, Constable of Scotland. Alan of Galloway, also known as Alan Fitzroland, was the leading 13th century Scottish magnate, as hereditary Lord of Galloway and Constable of Scotland. Now we're going to backtrack a little bit. Clan Stuart is a Highland Scottish clan. The clan is recognized by the court of Lord Lyon. However, it does not have a clan chief recognized by the Lord Lyon King of Arms. Because the clan has no chief, it can be considered an Armagarius, I always say that wrong, clan. However, Earls of Galloway are now considered to be the principal branch of the Stuart clan, and the crest and motto of the Earls of Galloway arms are used in the clan Stuart crest and badge. Let's give up to Lord John. Oh, he's a member of the Royal Stuart clan. So, that was in just the first paragraph of reading the Magna Carta. That's just kind of the stuff that seriously jumped out at me, and it was like, ooh, wait a second.
Okay, there's a question being posed by Jeff in the chat room, and it's a good one, which is, how can a small entity with little exposure in the world speak for humanity and create slavery 2.0? And I actually had this conversation the other day with someone who said, how can just New Earth or ITNJ and, you know, Sasha Stone, who most of the world don't know about, bring something in? And my thoughts on it were, well, they didn't need everybody's knowledge and consent to bring in slavery 1.0. And for the majority of the population, it would be, as David Icke's term, the totalitarian tiptoe, it would be implemented in stages. So, I mean, we get laws passed every day that we don't know about, that we end up complying with, that we don't object to. And it would just be, you know, you might find that the birth certificates start changing. The wording on them starts to change. But people are still going to sign over them. They're still going to register their children. It'll be a step-by-step. You know, it'll be the wording in our the documents that we end up signing for whatever, for loans, for mortgages, because not enough people understand the banking system. And it'll just happen. And, you know, silence is acquiescence. So if we don't know, how are we going to say no? So that's my thoughts on it.
And it's the whole thing of tacit consent, right? And we've seen the laws. The laws have been set up and have been for eons, that basically tacit consent is the rule of the day. And you see it on every single terms of agreement you sign. Be it, you know, you've just updated your Skype. Do you agree to our terms of agreement? Have you read them? Do you go in and check every week to see if they've updated their terms of agreement? Because unless you go and check if they've changed their terms of agreement or if they've changed a law, they don't need to notify you, because they accept your non-declaration of refusal as tacit consent, which is how we got to where we are right now. It's like Lisa said, right? It's how we got here. It wasn't like the whole world got together and had a vote and said, hey, we're going to institute slavery 1.0. Who's in? Yeah, I am. Sounds like a great change. Let's have a party. That's not how it happened. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that this is 100% going to be slavery 2.0. I'm not saying that at all. I can only make guesses. I can build an opinion based on the research, the facts, the conversations, the pieces of information that we have. And I can bring it out and I can talk to you guys about it. We don't have any answers. The chances of us actually getting a hardcore answer are zero. So no, I'm not saying it is, but I'm not saying it isn't. And for me, I'm going to err on the side of caution and say, yeah, I'm just going to go right out there and say, I don't consent. No one's representing me. It ain't happening. And cover my own ass. I'm sorry, just going to cover my own ass on that one.
We're also dealing with the situation where the wording of treaties and constitutions and stuff going on in the background is changing.
Exactly. Hold on, let me see if I can pull up the quote. Hold on, I'm going to scroll right to the Bible, literally pages and pages of notes.
While you're looking.
Okay, here it is. Hold on. This was
okay.
Sasha's comments at the very end of the ceremony today. Oh, and these comments came after he asked everyone in the room to read the ITNJ treaty out loud. And Lisa and I, and a good portion of our viewers, will remember someone else who really, really found it very important to get everyone to read certain documents out loud. What he said was, he says, without this treaty's event, without this treaty's document, without the voice of the people, there would not be an ITNJ. Well, there would be if 3 or more of us signed it, and 3 of us have signed it. So in point of fact, the court is actually in law. Now, did you note anywhere where it said the public signing it? No. In point of fact, the court is actually in law. He says, the government will not teach you about treaties or constitutions. They have been designed to confuse the hell out of us for millennia. Accepts that. For all that it's, relatively short and sweet. Yeah, this treaty's, the double wording in this treaties is just as slippery as any other treaty I've ever read. And we spent hours going word by word, sentence by sentence over the treaties and talking to a whole bunch of friends of ours who've got experience in law, who've got experience in etymology of words, and who have experience in legal terminology. And every single person who looked at it, I don't mean going, oh, wow, this is so pretty. Oh, yeah, I'll sign my name onto this. But I mean, actually looked at it and read it, all came to the same thing. Yeah, this isn't good. This is really, really so far open-ended. They make these vast sweeping statements that have no description as to what these statements mean and how they're to be interpreted. Again, it comes up with the use of the word the creator again. Wow, again. And as it states at the bottom of the Constitution and the bottom of the treaties, these documents will be amended. But it's going to probably be up to each and every person to read those terms of agreement and then decide if they actually want to retain their oath and declaration on these documents. It's going to be a decision everyone's going to have to make for themselves. And are you going to keep up with every change in the amendments? I know that the Constitution was signed, they say. It wasn't shown on the live stream, so we have actually no real evidence that it was signed, but they had 5 top copies of the ITNJ Constitution that was signed by the 5 representatives of the ITNJ on the stage. And then everyone in the room was going to file past and sign that Constitution. Yet I know for a fact that outside of those hierarchical people, the 5 people and perhaps the people working with them, no one knew in advance what was in that Constitution. Because the Constitution that you see on the ITNJ website is not the Constitution that they signed. And we asked for a copy of the Constitution that was going to be signed. And we were promised a copy of the Constitution and the new treaty. And we never got it. So my question is this: if people signed the Constitution last week, it's been changed. Now what did you sign? Because no one's seen it. They say they're going to put it out. Great. I'm looking for it. I actually looked for it a half an hour ago to see if by any chance they'd already uploaded it. It's not there. What did you sign?
Getting back to the date. Getting back
Yes.
to this year and getting back to September and specifically.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not only do we have, how do you pronounce it? Shimita?
Shimita? Yeah. Something like that.
7 times 7 times 7. We have all the blood moon. We have,
Yep.
which all ties into that as well.
Do I have that in?
I think I might.
I had it. I don't know if I actually copied it in. Crap. I was copying and pasting information so bloody fast. It was like to the point of ridiculousness. No, I didn't hear. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. The last Yovel Jubilee year was 1967, which just happened to be the year of the 6-Day War, where Israel took back Jerusalem. And that was one of the things that I was doing notes on, because a couple of the things that came up. Oh God, where are my notes on this? I'm sorry, guys. I'm scrolling through these massive amounts of notes. Give me a second here. Oh yeah,
I'm scanning through my notes too, looking for.
I know. I'm sorry. Like I said, the amount of notes I have is probably about 20 pages of notes. When I drop it into removing the shackles, you guys will understand a little bit. And this is just the research from today. This isn't my research that I did in certain other members of the ITNJ earlier this week, which was rather interesting. At least I don't know. Did you get that document that I sent to you? If you're talking to me, you're muted.
No, I don't know. How did you send it?
In the room, in our workroom where we've been working on stuff.
Okay.
It was about 10 pages of stuff on another one of the members of the ITNJ. Sorry guys, I'm really, really sorry. I wish I'd had time to organize this to make it a little easier. Okay, so.
Hang on, here we got it.
Okay, you go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, John. John just reposted it. Sets of lunar eclipses falling on Jewish holidays spanning 600 years from 1493 to past 2100.
Okay, hold on. One thing I want to just add, Lisa, before you go on, there's one thing I want to add in this. Because there's been everyone kind of goes, and oh my God, all these lunar, like, blah, 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 all happen on Jewish holidays. Okay, right from the get-go, remember the Jewish month runs on a lunar calendar. So the chances of a lunar eclipse, etc., happening on a Jewish holiday is pretty high, pretty average, just because it's a lunar calendar. Their holidays fall on specific lunar events. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, these notes, the sets of lunar eclipses falling on Jewish holidays spanning 600 years from 1493 to past 2100 happen only 3 times. They are in 1948, the year of the birth of Israel as a nation again, 1967, when Jerusalem was captured, and the next one will be this year. And the blood red moon signifies trouble for Israel. And then there's a list of dates going back to 1950. And then the solar eclipse signals judgment for the nations. And the next one is September 14th this year.
The day after Shemitah.
One of the most interesting Yovel calculations comes from those who combine the opinion of the Rabbanan and Hakam. This novel idea suggests that we count 50 years for the Yovel up until the destruction of the temple. After the destruction of the temple, we revert to counting 49 years, with the first year of the next cycle being the Yovel year, by combining Rabbanan's count and Yehuda's count. We find that the last Yovel, or Jubilee year, was 1967, the year of the Six-Day War. This was the 48th Yovel year, starting from the time of Ezra in 3416, which would be the Jewish calendar year. So the next one, the Yovel year, which is 49 years later, is 2015. But you combine all of that with everything else that's come out around September for this year, everything else that's going on, and it's starting to look really, really bloody interesting. But I would love you guys. The call numbers are up on the screen. If anyone's got anything to add or a comment, please give us a call. Join in. I know you're all having quite a bit of fun there in the chat room, but you can also call in.
Yeah, guys. Here's the thing. So when I was going, like literally, I spent 6 to 8 hours just reading all these documents on how this was all worked out. Yeah, there's various theories from within the Judaic religious standpoint of how it's calculated from the 50 years or the 49 years and when it's calculated from, etc. So the most common one is the fact of what we gave you is the fact that it is the grand cycle this year. Now, the interesting thing is there was a few things when you go and you look up certain information, those who spoke kind of against the idea that there was anything to this was the fact of, well, you know, the debt freedom, the freedom from debts, the proper Shemitah can only be celebrated properly if all the tribes of Israel are in Israel and Jerusalem is back being run by Israel. Okay, well, let's run through a couple of the news stories. First of all, the big one came out yesterday. What happened yesterday? U.S. Congress fails to make Jerusalem Israel's capital. Because Israel, the pro-Israeli factions within Congress tried to pass a law that could state that any of them who have Israeli nationality, born in Jerusalem, etc., anyone who is a U.S. citizen born in Jerusalem would therefore be Israeli, therefore tying Jerusalem to being Israel's capital. It was a very roundabout, sneaky way of doing it, and it was fired down. Obama said no. And then the chief justices said no as well. It says this was a backdoor attempt to compel U.S. recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Not only failed, but it completely backfired. Okay, so well, that's kind of interesting. What? All of a sudden there's a push to make it officially recognized by U.S. Congress that Jerusalem is Israel's capital? And I'll take you back to February, when right after Charlie Hebdo and then the so-called attacks that happened in Stockholm, when Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu offered in wake of recent attacks blasted as politically motivated and disappointed by politicians and Jewish leaders when he said to everyone, please, all you Jews in Europe, you must come back to Israel, your home. Yes, all the Jews of Europe are not safe out there. They must come back to Israel, i.e. calling in the tribes. Isn't that kind of interesting? And you don't have context for it until you look at some of this background information. Again, is this the debt forgiveness type aspect? Is that what they're lining everything up? And then, like we said, if you've got all the slaves have been freed and all the debt has been forgiven and all the land has gone back to the people, then they have to get everyone signed back up again really fucking fast, don't they? Like, really fucking fast.
Yeah, before anybody catches on.
Exactly.
Okay, well, the chat room is being very vocal.
Well, tell us what you're saying, dudes. If you're being that vocal, Lisa probably can't read that fast to be able to catch the chat. This is when you wish you could blow the chat window up to like full page and have like a pause button and just be like, pause, rewind, I need to go back.
It's actually not that fast, but it is strong.
Define
People's opinions.
strong.
Well, people's opinions and statements, and it's like.
So what are
No
the
one's-
opinions? I'd like.
no
I
one's
really
get-
want to
No
know.
one's getting screwed this time. Well,
No one's
how
getting
about
screwed. Fuck that
how
shit.
about New Earth Nation equals New Earth Cage?
Well, you do know that one of their mottos is natural world order, right?
Yeah.
Just saying, no, there's certain things you just can't take back. I've had this conversation. It's like, I don't care that the swastika is an ancient, Buddhist symbol of wonderfulness. You can never take the swastika back. No man will ever be able to wear the little mustache again, ever. And you can't take back the initials NWO, no matter how hard you try. Sorry. You got to unmute.
It wouldn't unmute. I find it interesting that we've had no direct contact or comment or comeback or anything from that camp. However, they did apparently indirectly address our concerns and our comments on the live stream, but nothing more direct than that. That, as you said, certain documents, updated copies were promised and never received. When, if an opportunity was there to prove it out and satisfy our concerns and questions, and had that been done, we could have been biggest supporters. But that didn't happen. Missed opportunity, I think. Don't really. Okay, let's do worst case scenario. This is 2.0. Where do we go from here? If they actually don't need people to sign on board to implement, I'm still inclined to think that there are events that will unfold over the next couple of months, probably culminating in September, which will be the implementation steps. And I guess it's just a matter of us all continuing to remain vigilant and connecting so-called disconnected dots I also keep coming back to it's not going to work because it is based in fraud. And no matter whether it's this or something else, if it's not based in truth, and integrity and transparency and actual freedom, that it's not going to work. However, this comes back to that chicken or the egg kind of question. In that, okay, we're on a, to use Lily's terminology, we're on the Earth's timeline or whatever, and, none of these things are going to work. Does that mean we sit back and just do nothing and watch it collapse? No, I don't believe so. I think it's all interwoven. Things don't work because we become active, vigilant, we take steps, we feel driven to take certain actions. We derail, perhaps, some of these things. It's not time to sit back and just watch it collapse. Or I have, the whole it's already done, it's all done, you don't have to do anything speech. Tune in to yourself, stay centered, and act on your own internal prompts, whatever they are, because you don't know what small step you take, what small action, whether it's just having a conversation with someone and educating them on something, whether it's exposing a piece of intel that you have, whatever it is, just act on those internal prompts. And each and every one of us doing that is part of the action that is the timeline.
Just to go back to the first thing that you were talking about what do we do? For example, worst case scenario. Okay, the one thing that we know that Humanitad and New Earth Nation, I'm not sure about New Earth Nation, Humanitad and the ITNJ Trust, okay, the trusts are private trusts, okay? As private trusts, they have different sorts of laws. So I wasn't joking when I said making a declaration that says, I do not consent to anyone representing me. You do not represent me. I don't consent. That actually has a huge effect, not just legally, but also energetically as well. And we all know this is a very energetic thing playing out too. So, if you talk about things that you can do, say it. I do not consent. Say it out loud. As Mel has taught us on the Dragonology, the written word is dead. It's speaking it that gives it life, which is why Heather always encouraged everyone continuously, read the declarations out loud, read the filings out loud, because in reading them out loud, you give them life. And if you're dealing with, magic, ritual, etc., which all of this stuff is steeped in, reading it out loud is your consent. It is you giving consent and giving power to it. Everyone can say declarations out loud, filings out loud. Because in reading them, magic, ritual, etc., which all of this stuff is steeped in. Reading it out loud is your consent.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm not on my computer. I'm on the phone.
Can you hear us? Can you turn the show off?
I turned it down.
There we go. Now we can hear you and not ourselves.
Okay, I'm calling on a slightly different topic, but it's not really when you look at all the pieces, Dee. This morning I made a comment, and I know you don't want to hear this, Dee, but I made a comment on an excellent conversation that was on YouTube by about the flat Earth. And I made this comment there because I can't reach any of you people anyway but by calling into your show. So, an article I was reading this morning talked about coming technologies after the shift. Mm-hmm. And they started describing the desalination of seawater. And I'm thinking, everybody thinks this is new. It's not new.
No.
Because, well, I'm from New Orleans. That's not where I am now. But, you know, water's kind of something we have little experience with. And we had, when that ship went into the Caribbean, that had to stop back in Mobile and things like that, I started wondering, this thing had thousands and thousands of people on it. You know, I mean, yeah, they said they couldn't take baths and all that, but it was the media that was saying that, so I didn't believe it. So then I went looking, and I found the largest cruise ship in the world, and it's called the Allure of the Seas. It's an Oasis-class ship that holds 5,000 passengers. I think the exact numbers are 4,400.
Wow.
It has 2,400 or so staff. They didn't mention whether the entertainers, you know, how many entertainers there were on this thing, but it had 30 restaurants and God knows how many entertainers and stuff like that. So I said, the people, this is a small town and they're on a cruise ship. Where the hell are they storing all the water that's needed to cook for and wash the laundry for all of these people? So I went looking, and sure enough, they desalinate salt water while they cruise.
Exactly.
So here we have drought in California, mm-hmm. and they can't transfer this technology to the shore and pipe water into the fields when they can wash clothing for people on a cruise who change their clothes 3 or 5 times a day, God knows how many, with kids.
Yeah.
So I don't hear anybody talking about this. And it's technology that's here. It's on every military ship, from what I understand.
Yep.
And Lisa, you spurred my mind about it, because there you're talking about the worst case scenario that we could see. Well, a lot of this technology is already here.
Yeah.
But it's right in front of our eyes, like the flat Earth. It's right in front of our eyes. And people aren't seeing it. Now tell me there aren't engineers who aren't asking the same question. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. No, listen, a lot of these technologies, the desalination is easy. Like, my husband designed a little solar-powered desalinator out of an old aquarium, a pressure cooker with some black paint and some rubber tubing. Seriously.
Yeah, but I don't think we're talking for 90-pound washing machines about a distillation process.
Oh, I know. But
you see what I mean?
This is extreme old technology. And they've now got desalination technology that is being used all over the world, solar powered. And I'm talking for
Like in Dubai, hello.
vast amounts of water that they're desalinating. Hello, yeah. Look at countries like, Dubai,
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi. There is no fresh water there. They got to get it from somewhere. And I'm going to tell you right now, while some of it gets piped in, not all of it. You couldn't even fill all the swimming pools in Dubai with the amount of water they try and pipe in. Okay? It's not just this. There's other technologies such as garbage disposal. My dad worked in the green energy industry for 25 years. The technologies that are necessary for eliminating landfills, eliminating recycling, which is not good for you, by the way. Recycling is one of the worst things you can possibly do. Trust me. This technology is old, like 30 years old. Solar power, real solar power. Wind power,
Yeah.
and again, real wind power. I'm not talking the crap, stupid stuff that they have out in California, which are just, they were created to fail. They were created completely to be a failure so that they could point to them and say, oh, see, look, we tried. It didn't work. The technologies are all there. If you talk about free energy.
The other thing I saw quite a long time ago was an anti-gravity automobile.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have been faked. And it was at a car show in Japan.
Yes.
And they had this little old couple in it floating around in the country and sitting down in the middle of people. You know how easily you can tell if something is faked like that. It was just amazing. And now, of course, it's all disappeared, any remnant of it. But I think when we think of the worst case scenario, that maybe we need to think also about everything we have that exists, and we need to keep talking about those things so that people don't feel like, well, what will we do? Oh my God, all the garbage is going to pile up in the streets. It's what we're not talking about the things that we already have that we just need to pop loose.
Mm-hmm.
We even have factories that make these things, obviously, because the Allure of the Seas was built in Norway.
Yep.
All those Oasis class, and every military ship has it. Well, we don't even have to deal with the military. We're talking about people looking at specs for cruise ships. They've all got this crap, A lot more. We're just not looking at what's right before us.
But you know what? That's in a lot of things. And I think sometimes, though, we have to take that step back and look at the crap so that we are pushed ourselves forward. And it's like that. You said that picture that I saw of Caleb and Sasha together was the thing that generated everything. It generated all the research. But it's not a bad thing like I said, in my mind, it's not a bad thing because I'm pushing forward, and because I don't consent. So therefore it doesn't affect me anymore. And that's where I
Going back to that,
but we have to remember that. I didn't hear you, Lisa.
There are no accidents. There are no accidents.
Yeah.
Right? And I've seen this time and time again in the last few years where people necessarily understand why they do what they do at the time, including me.
I didn't hear that.
You're following an imperative, or you're not even. Had Sasha not
well, I've never written about this particular topic before.
Hang on, let me finish this one for a sec. Dee and I would not know how entrenched or involved Caleb is in the New Earth Nation and the ITNJ. Now, the question I've asked myself is, did Sasha do this unconsciously as a trigger to bring this to our attention? Because to me, if he was conscious of the players and conscious of everything that's going on, and then there would have to be a part of him that knows that would have been a red flag for us. But I have my personal thoughts at this point are that it was one of those unconscious acts that was part of the.
Was it unconscious that the UN put the flat Earth map on its logo?
No.
Or was this the way we were supposed to always go?
Exactly. Yes.
That smacks of blame to me when we think of, is it conscious or unconscious? What, are we going to blame him if he's...
No, I'm not. This is not about blame. This is about looking at the, the planetary timeline.
I don't see the end result, Lisa.
You don't see the end result. What do you mean?
The end result of the determination of whether Sacha is come. I don't even know what he's doing, okay? But, I gather it has something to do with law. That's the only thing. I have listened to the part until you got to the part where I felt impelled to call. To me, he's part of the distraction that gets us off course and going down rabbit holes ad infinitum to what avail? And we have the things that can make us successful and thrive right now in our technology. And we're not even focusing on it. We're focusing on going down and trying to figure out who the good guy and who the bad guy is. I don't care who the good guy and the bad guy is. I care what our future looks like. You see what I mean? I'm old. My voice is tired.
Sorry, did you say you don't care what our future looks like? I'm not sure what I don't think I heard that correctly.
What? The whole point?
No, just that last bit. It sounded like you said, I don't care what
my voice was squeaking.
But I'm sure that's not what you said. With these technologies, you can go back to Tesla. We've had technology that can change this planet for over 100 years. And as long as the systems are in place, they're going to continue to be suppressed.
But they're going to fall. They've got to. Like right now, I'm really poor.
This comes back to us. They are going to fall.
Well, we just have to say no. And right now, for instance, I live in this little baby town where, I'm really old and I'm really poor, and they like to push around old ladies, okay? Now, I moved here a year ago to find out how bad the place was and decided I'm never living in an elderly facility again in spite of the low rent. And so I go to turn off my electricity, so I found one where I'm going to be even poorer. But I'm not going to get treated like this, right? So you just move on and get in a place where you feel like a human being again, and then you recover from the last. And so I go to the electricity company, little baby town. They know you by name, okay? And I go to turn off my electricity, and so I go, and when will I get my deposit back? I pay my electricity ahead of time, okay? When will I get my electricity back? My deposit back. And she says, in August. And I go, oh, well, okay, what's the reason for that? And she explains about, they have to make sure, in spite of the fact that I've paid every bill ahead of time, they have to make sure I pay my final bill. And so I go, and how much will that be? I didn't have my receipt in front of me, but I'm doing my budget. And she goes, $25. So eventually,
I'd say we just.
Okay, we lost her.
Yeah, I'd say we just lost her. Well, I want to bring this back on topic, anyways, because, yeah, I mean, the whole distraction thing. I mean, this is one of the main topics we talk about: is what is distraction, what is real, what are they distracting us from? So, and it's always the thing to try and figure out which event is the distraction for something else. Right now, for example, in Texas, there's a shitload of stuff going on. False flags. I mean, there's been what, 1, 2, 3 false flags in Texas in the last 2 weeks that have generated huge, huge amounts of distraction. I mean, bring all the focus over there to Texas. And you can say, okay, well, oh, well, you know, like we got a lot of people saying, oh, this is the setup for Jade Helm. This is the setup for Jade Helm. Yeah, okay, it could be. Or is it a distraction? Because right now, everyone is looking over at Texas. So what are they distracting from? Well, like we said, June 15th, there's been a whole lot of stuff that happened today. Besides the signing of the Magna Carta and the ITNJ and the start of Jade Helm. Oh, and net neutrality in the States started today. Just to mention a couple right off the hop. Where's the distraction? What are they distracting us from?
I'm staying muted. It's really windy.
Oh, so I just have to just keep talking. Oh, okay. I'm just going to monologue for a while because it's really windy where Lisa is.
You could do a Brian rant.
No. I do that enough on my own show. No one wants to hear me ranting. It gets ugly and shit. You're my calm counterpart, Lisa. You know that. I can't do this without you. Lisa keeps me balanced and somewhat not freak out.
So how come water cannot? Someone's even put it in the chat room that they're a regular due to their job in places like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and water is never an issue.
Nope.
Now that just blows me away. I mean, there are some places in the world who are not as desolate as those, and water is a huge issue.
Well, I mean, in Dubai, they have the money, right? Money talks. Money buys everything you want, right? I mean, go look at the islands in Dubai. You want an island built for you, the shape of a guitar? Yeah, we can do that, and give you fresh water too, because we have the money. Yeah, I mean, money talks, but it's beyond that. I mean, this is the whole thing. You know, we all remember Ethiopia. And I mean, God, the starving children in Ethiopia, the drought, the pictures that made everybody cry. Yeah, well, you know what? That was deliberate. It was deliberately done. We know that. It was deliberately done because they needed to have an excuse to go in. It's kind of like Ebola. Kind of like fucking just about everything else that's going on in Africa right now. Okay? Yeah, I know.
I know you guys keep asking about Brian, and we are obviously avoiding the issue, the discussion, because we don't know. We really don't know. We've had very, very little contact with him at all since he left Bali, and in fact, even in the 3 or 4 weeks before he left Bali. So I have no idea what his plans are in regards to this show, whether he's returning. He doesn't let us know from week to week whether he's going to be here, so I don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know. Sorry, guys. We're not trying to ignore the issue. We just don't have an answer. How about you guys all ask him, and then let us know.
Yeah, if anyone talks to him, ask him what his plans are, and you can let us know, because we don't.
That was catty. I apologize, but you know.
No, but it's true. We have no clue. We don't. We honestly don't know what his plans are or his intentions are.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, I mean, all of these things that we see, I mean, natural disasters are natural disasters. That's what we talked about. That's what I talked about in the whole first half of Transpicuous News special on Wednesday, just passed. We know there's a shite load of natural disasters, and they're not man-made. There might be a few of them that are being maybe directed, given a little push, etc., the storms and that, but they're not. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. They don't have the kind of ability to do what's happening that's on the planet right now. But like I said, when you see places that have, devastating droughts, you have to look at it. I mean, right now, I'm sorry, in the States, they're trying to drive some kind of food shortage thing up. The droughts, and then you've got the new avian flu. Oh God, now the chicken flu, and yeah, the chickens. And now because they have to kill all the chickens, they don't have eggs. So now places are now rationing eggs because come on, seriously. Yeah, it's all deliberate. What does it mean? Who's behind it? Yeah, well, we can all play that game. And what is the distractions? Well, they're all around us, aren't they? Every kind of like not a week goes by that there isn't another distraction right now. Hey, look, Lisa, you look like you're in the same room as me. We can almost go like this. Oh, Lisa. Oh, look, I know her. Almost.
Your lighting's a lot better though.
Yeah, I have a spotlight on. Otherwise, I'd be sitting here in the dark. Look, I can actually make like little, shadow puppets.
The other thing I think we all need to educate ourselves on too is NLP, mind programming. It's just there was a actually it was on Stasha again. God, poor Stasha. Cindy Courier. A video was sent to me where because she's got a history with hypnosis and things like that, she actually covered off some of his. The reason it was brought to my attention was because one of the things she covered off was the interview between Sasha and Heather that we did, right? It was one of the pieces that she analysed. She also analysed his address from the Energy Summit, the address to our leaders, and talked about the programming. And this also goes back to Nick's comment in regards to Russell Brand as well. When you have individuals who string together a list of uncommon words, they take 8 words to say something you could say in 2, and your mind switches off unless you understand the meaning of each and every word, and it all kind of goes over your head. It bypasses your conscious critical thinking. I think it's an interesting correlation or observation to make that Nick made. You've got Russell Brand out there who is, a long-haired, attractive, kind of grungy, hippie rock star, failed rock star, who has the same way, English as well, and the same way of expressing himself with a long stream of, he's very verbose. And he's out there very public, the mainstream public know exactly who he is and what he's on about. And he could well be a primer for an updated version of that, which is in fact Sasha Stone, who is also the slightly grungy, hippie, charismatic, English, verbose. He's an upgrade to Russell Brand. And listening, when you listen to the two of them talk from that NLP perspective, it's really bloody interesting. As well as Russell talks so fast as well that it's actually hard to keep up. You only catch a percentage of what he says. Yeah, he's an upgrade there. People dazzle with bullshit. Yeah. Baffle with bullshit. What's the lady's name? Cindy Courier. Cindy. And I can't remember how she spells the Courier part. I think it's Currier.
Yes, Cindy K. Courier. Currier. Oh, Cindy, if you catch this, I actually want to talk to you. And it was actually about a month ago because I want to talk to you about the filings and a few other things. So if you pass Cindy a message for us, anyone who knows her. I have spoken to Cindy in the past, but that was like a couple of years ago. So yeah, I'd love to talk to her. I think we have a lot of interesting shit to talk about. And the NLP shit, Lisa, also got another step more interesting. Well, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say that out loud. Just someone close to someone else is an NLP expert. Just saying. I'm going to shut up now.
Say it out loud. Come on, what are you talking about? I'm going to play dumb. What? I don't understand. There's no disappearing. Come on, spit it out.
Someone in Sasha Stone's entourage is an NLP expert. Like I said, we went researching on everyone. I got some interesting shit. Just saying. I just found that interesting. That was all.
And when you can spot it, you're seeing it everywhere. Yeah. Oh God, this goes back to just how honestly, all this stuff reminds me, and it's just a reminder. It's a kick up the ass of just how powerful we are. We have to be, because it comes at us every which way, all day, every day, and we have to remember that heart, get back in here, get back into center and stay there and just see everything for what it is that's coming at us. I keep going back to it is all good. We are on a positive timeline. We are winning, if you want to call it a war. But I'm also very, very adamant that it does not mean we sit on our asses and just watch the show.
No, you don't. And that's why I keep saying this is the time where everyone's got to get up off their ass, like right fucking now. And, do something. Do something. Just whatever it is, whatever strikes you as it needing to be, just get up and do something. We keep talking about this, and it's really actually interesting. One of the rabbit holes I fell down today to do with the Jewish Torah and Judaic law, etc., was an article that kind of talked a little bit about that, but also talked about ritual, etc. And one of the things they talked about was kind of funny, is the whole fact that it is law, karmic law, if you will, for lack of a better term, that they have to give notice. They have to give notice. It's karmic law. It's whatever you want to call it that. It's ritual. It's religious. It's law. They must give notice. I talk about this all the time. So when they give notice, respond. Respond in any way, shape, or form, even if it's like we said tonight, declaration. You do not represent me. I do not consent to your representation. I am a fucking independent person, so fuck off. Whatever. But do something, right? It's not the time to sit on your ass. Yeah, have we won? Yeah, I totally say we've won. That's always been my gut instinct. But we still have to play it out.
If anybody is doubting the effect, the power of NLP, just to give yourself a little bit of an education, there's an amazing video on YouTube. There's a guy who's turned NLP into almost like a circus act.
A sideshow act, exactly.
Sideshow act. I can't remember his name, but it's the red bicycle. If you did NLP red bicycle, you'd probably find it. He has these individuals, he invites them over, and they're in a room, and he says he's got a present for them, and he gets them to write down on a piece of paper and put in their pocket the answer to the question, which is, if he's about to give you a present, if it could be anything in the world that you would want, what would it be? And people wrote things like a leather jacket or a new car, or whatever their personal thing was in that moment. They then went into the room. He had a 3 to 4 minute conversation with them that didn't have anything to do with the gift, and then he presented them with a red bicycle as their gift, and they were absolutely overjoyed and shocked that he knew exactly what they wanted. How could he know that? And he said, "Are you sure that what you wanted was a red bicycle?" And they said, "This is perfect. This is absolutely what I want." And he asked them to pull out that piece of paper, and they would read on it what they wrote themselves only moments before. And they went, "That's not right. Why would I want a leather jacket? That's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted, absolutely." And it's used in advertising. It's used, that's where it started. It's used by politicians. It's used by people who want to persuade the public to move in a particular direction. And it's used on us all the time. Gurus.
All them there gurus trying to set up new organizations and, save the world. Yeah, but I'll program you first just so you follow along. Yeah, I'm sorry. Kind of Lisa and I have lived that life for two years, hardcore. So yeah, if you don't think it exists, so you don't think it works, yeah, think again. It certainly does. The one good thing is when you come out the other side, you really got your shit together with being able to spot it fucking fast. It's like, oh, I know what you're doing. Nice try.
And if you're with someone, if you're physically with someone who's trying to use that stuff on you, you'll notice they touch you, just your arm, your hand, your shoulder, at key points, at key words. It's programming. Back of the neck. Back of the neck's a big one. But the elbow. So it's the elbow.
The knee. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's amazing how transparent that stuff becomes after you've kind of been through it for a while. You see it right away. And I have a serious low tolerance for bullshit anyway nowadays. I mean, I always have had that. But now the manipulation stuff, it's instant. As soon as I see it, it's like, I really have no energy for you and no time for you. And I'm not going to sit back and play nicey. I'm just going to call bullshit where I see it. So it doesn't make me a fun person to be around, but it is what it is.
I'm trying to catch up. There's messages coming in all over the place. I'm trying not to miss anything, but
we've only got 6 minutes left, everyone. 6 minutes. We're on the final countdown.
So, if those of you in the chat room, if you have any final questions or comments, now's the time to put them in. Basically, there's just a lot of commentary going on there about people's personal feelings towards New Earth Nation and those involved. Darren Brown, that's him. That's the guy's name, the NLP guy, the red bicycle. Thank you, Jeff. Man, Jeff's on the ball. He's great. Tomorrow, what's happening tomorrow? You've got Transpicuous News? You're muted.
Oh, damn mute button. We were trying to pull together a legal group to actually go through basically some of the filing stuff and some of the ITNJ stuff. And we haven't been able to pull a group together. It's just been impossible to on this short notice. So I don't know at this point what we're going to be doing, or if we're going to be doing anything. I'm sorry. I will let. The producer has just told us we will make it happen. Are you using NLP on me, Biggie? Yeah. So I at this point I don't know what we're gonna do. Like I said, it was the game plan was to get together a panel of people to sit down and discuss from various aspects of the usage of certain words, people who knew the legal terminology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at this point, I'm not sure. That's all I'm just going to say. I'm not sure what's happening.
So tune in tomorrow and get a surprise.
I will let everyone know on removing the shackles. On Skype and in the Skype rooms and on removing the shackles, I will let everyone know if something's going on. If what I don't. I don't know. Dude, I have been researching for like 14 hours straight today. My brain slithered out my ear about an hour and a half ago. Actually, pretty much the moment I sat down to do the show. Sorry. Yeah. And I like sat down and went, okay, now I can just talk.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's just been one of those shows, I guess. If you pull something off for tomorrow, let me know and I'll try and join you if I can.
Yep.
The show is called Global Initiatives Review.
ITNJ.
Okay. Lisa, what you said before the lady called in was really important. You were saying that it is important that we follow and stay true to our inner promptings, and that way, and that we know, we may know, we may not know at the time why we are doing what we are doing, but it will make sense at some stage. Yeah, thanks, Deborah. I do. I mean, I've done it myself so many times over the last couple of years. You know, certain knowings, certain promptings, and then you follow them, but it doesn't quite make sense, or you're not even thinking about the significance of it. But then thank you. Then it turns out, that was a piece. And I'm honestly really truly contemplating the fact that Sasha did not know what he was doing when he posted that photo. It was one of those things.
Yep.
He could not know that would lead to this. I don't believe. Like, it was a subconscious cry for help.
Well, you know what? Do you remember we talked about the story? This was like a year and a half ago. Because we had a conversation just like this on one of the round tables way back. And we talked about that bishop in Rome. This guy was living the lavish luxury lifestyle, and he thinks he hears a burglar. And instead of picking up the phone and calling the Vatican police, which is what he would absolutely do anytime, because it's always Vatican, you would never ever, he calls the Rome Police Department. And they walked into his house to check for the burglar, and the first thing they see is a ginormous painting that's worth millions that was stolen. And they arrest him. And it's the whole thing of like, why the hell did he call the Rome police? No one in the Vatican order would ever call the local police, you'd call the Vatican police. Always. But he did it. And they found all kinds of shit hidden in his house that was illegal and stuff. So, that prompting, sometimes, like I said, people just do things and it's just the thing they're going to do, I guess, or supposed to do in the moment. Maybe to move things along. Because like I said, I said it the other day. Thank you, Caleb. I so love the fact that you guys posted that picture. Because we would have been talking about a totally different fucking conversation if I hadn't posted that picture.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally.
Definitely. I think we just officially ran out of minutes, chick.
Okay. Bye for now.
We'll see you maybe tomorrow night. And I'll see you Wednesday night on Transpicuous News. There will be a Wednesday night Transpicuous News. And next Monday on the round table.
If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live-streamed. Catch up on missed or previous broadcasts, now available from CCN high-definition downloads. You can now purchase a high-definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high-definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN free of corporate sponsorship and advertising, CCN has launched the Pledge 300 campaign. This is a realistic goal with the hopes of securing a minimum of 300 people who will each pledge €10 a month. With this number, we can continue to grow and operate and potentially expand into a second foreign language channel. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.